So previously we've looked at cookies, but there are actually two different types of cookies you can have on your computer whilst you're browsing the internet. One's called a session cookie. The other one is called a persistent cookie. We're going to look at how both of these actually work. So let's have a look at the session cookie to begin with. What happens is the following. When we log onto a website, it's temporarily stored in your web browser. So you've got your web browser and a cookie is stored like in Google Chrome, temporarily. Once we log out or close down the browser, that cookie is deleted. There's no expiration date for the cookie, it just survives for a single session. So it tracks what we're doing on a website. So let's take Amazon as our example. I go on Amazon, I add an item, and it goes into my shopping cart. The session cookie, during my time whilst I'm browsing, will remember what's in my shopping cart. So I might go onto this page and add a new item. I might go onto another page and add another item to my shopping cart. So now we've got 3 items in it. But here's the thing. Once I close down Amazon, whatever's in my shopping cart is removed. That's because we're at the end of a session. So it's stored temporarily in my web browser. This is different to persistent cookies. Let's talk about that. Instead of it being stored in your web browser, persistent cookies are stored on your hard drive. And they're there basically forever until there's an expiration date or I delete my cookies. So let's look at where persistent cookies are used. Let's take YouTube. So YouTube is a great situation which uses persistent cookies. It lives on my hard drive. It remembers my preferences, like the language I select. So I want it in English. So every time I watch a video, it'll defaultly be in English. Subtitles. If I choose to have subtitles, every video will have subtitles because it remembers my preferences. How does it remember my preferences? Well, every time I log on, it goes to my hard drive and it then tells YouTube, hey YouTube, you want subtitles. Hey YouTube, you want it in English. Also, not just preferences, you'll have recommendations, like videos I watch. Also, login information. So persistent cookies are there permanently on my hard drive until there's an expiration, like a year, or I delete them myself. So what are the differences between persistent and session? Session is temporary, stored in a web browser. It manages a single session, like a login session, a browsing session until I close down the browser. So a login session. So take an online bank. I log onto a bank. It logs me in. It stores it in my web browser. If I close it down, I have to re-log in again. With YouTube, I don't need to re-log in again. It's there permanently unless I delete it because on my SSD or HDD instead of my browser's memory, but browser memory. And it remembers it across several different visits. So it's not one session, several visits. One session will be me logging in, doing something, logging out, done. The cookie disappears. Multiple sessions, I log onto YouTube, I go back next day, the next day, the next day, and I don't need to do any logging in, I don't need to redo my preferences. It's there for me. Websites normally use a combination of both session and persistent cookies.